Bye. Thank you. I wanted to first start out, introduce myself. My name is Abby McNulty. I'm the president and CEO of the Park City Education Foundation. The Park City Ed Foundation leads the community and funding initiatives that inspire all Park City students to successfully reach their academic and lifelong potential. Since 1986, PCEF has been a trusted resource for public education in Park City, and we exist because Utah is the lowest funded public education system in our country, and 96% of our state collected tax dollars leave our community to fund other school districts. We work to change this equation by providing funds for important programs like preschool, elementary visual arts, after school, CTE and PC CAPS, Bright Futures, classroom grants and express grants, and a student and teacher innovation lab. A couple housekeeping items for tonight. As you saw, we are recording this event. We are joined by Park City High School College counselor Dara Smith, who will lead the conversation with our alumni. And she will make sure to leave 10 minutes at the end of the panel discussion for your questions. And feel free to either raise your hand or enter those questions directly into the chat button, which should be at the bottom of your screen. I wanted to thank all of our alumni for joining us tonight. We're so grateful to have you. And thank you, Dara, for joining us for this evening. And I want to thank also all of our Scholar Circle members and donors to the Park City Education Foundation who make our work possible. So before I hand it off to Dara, I just want to reflect for a moment about how the pandemic has changed our world. And as a mom of two kids, one thing that came across loud and clear over the last 2 years is how important schools are to our communities, to our families, and to our economy. PCEF commitment increased during this time to ensure that students had the access and the tools needed to achieve their academic and lifelong potential. The resources and faculty at Park City High School and within our Park City community help set up our kids to achieve things beyond their wildest dreams, as you'll learn and see tonight. And the Ed Foundation is proud to play a part in this, and largely in thanks to the donations of our donors. Frankly, I can't imagine another mountain community that has the quality of rigor and the diverse academic choices and the community opportunities and the community support that we love here in Park City. And I think perhaps that's a reason why we've seen so many people move here over the last couple of years. We're thrilled tonight to have 6 Park City High School alumni talk about their experiences beyond high school and college. And each of these alumni, who are at different places in their careers, have chosen to tackle some of the world's biggest challenges. And I'm really excited to hear from them and excited to share their stories with you all. Now, let me introduce Dara Smith. Dara has been at Park City High School since 2008, when several of these alumni were at Park City High School. Her job is to help students take the right paths to get into college and the programs of their choices. And several of our panelists worked with her and her colleagues when they were students. So let me turn it to Dara. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for being here. It is so fun to share all these amazing alumni. I want to say kids, but they're not kids because everybody's grown-ups now. But I'm going to ask each of the panelists, and I'll say your name first so you know who to respond to introduce themselves and give a 30-second synopsis of when they graduated from Park City High School, what college or master's or programs they headed off to after graduation, and what they're doing now. So I'm going to start with Justin. He is the only person on this panel tonight I've just met this evening.
Yeah, hi. Justin Guay. I graduated in 2000. I went to the University of Utah, got a degree, an undergraduate degree in business and marketing, and then went to the University of Denver for a master's degree in international development and global public health. And then did nothing with that and decided that the only thing I cared about working on was climate change. And so I ended up working on climate ever since then. And right now I work for the Sunrise Project, which is a global climate advocacy organization based in or headquartered in Sydney, Australia, with staff all over the world. I'm myself in Utah again after moving around quite a bit. And we focus on hastening the transition away from fossil fuels to clean energy.
Thanks, Justin. I think there's a lot to do with global health and environmental, but that's just my thought. And Caleb, please introduce yourself and your story.
Thanks, Dara. I'm Caleb Fine. I am the principal at Treasure Mountain Junior High currently, and I graduated from Park City High School in 2004. Following high school, I went to Newman University in Wichita, Kansas to get a degree in business and play basketball. And then different plans arose, really fell in love with education after a trip to Africa, working with kids in an AIDS orphanage. Came back, went to a few different universities to get my teaching credential, and then eventually a master's in leadership, educational leadership from Southern Utah University. I think back to Park City High School and being a part of this community, starting a small business in this community when I was in high school. And I think what inspired me most through my high school career is the teachers never said, you can't do that. They always said, why not? And I was fortunate to start a company here and then come back to a community I love. And now I get to work with students, and 3 of these students were at Park City High School when I was there. So it's pretty inspiring to see them on this panel now. And yeah, I struggle with thinking they're kids, but they're actually grown adults achieving amazing things. So it's so encouraging and fun to watch.
Thanks, Caleb. Kind of going in order of graduation, I believe. So I'm gonna pick Alex Woodcock next. Share your info.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Woodcock. I'm calling from New York. So I graduated in 2009, which seems like a long time ago, and then went to Harvard University for undergrad, where I studied anthropology and global health and health policy. Took a little break and worked for March of Dimes for a year, and then went to medical school at the University of Utah. I am currently in New York City, just finishing up my OBGYN residency at Albert Einstein Montefiore in the Bronx. I was looking to serve the most underserved population that I could find, and I've really found that here in the Bronx. And so it's been a really, really rewarding time and place to do residency. Really excited to meet you all.
Thanks, Alex. Okay, and then I'm kind of going in order. Let's see. Dalia, one of my past students.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Dalia Gonzalez, and I am a graduate from Park City High School for the class of 2011. And I also went to the University of Utah, graduated there with 3 degrees, international studies, human development and family studies, and also health promotion and education. All those 3 helped me get where I am today and evolved my love for healthcare. And I am currently a director of operations at People's Health Clinic, which is a local nonprofit that serves the uninsured community of Summit County and Wasatch County.
So amazing. Thank you. Okay, I think we're now into Skye.
Hi everyone, my name is Skye Mooney and I graduated in 2013 from Park City High. After graduating, I went to Stanford and got my undergraduate degree in human biology with a focus on human health and the environment. And that kind of inspired me to get my master's in civil and environmental engineering with a focus on atmosphere and renewable energy. So I've been working in the renewable energy space since that. I worked as an engineer for 3 years, and now I'm working as a strategic development analyst. So really focusing on future initiatives and making sure we're growing a pipeline to a clean energy future. And excited to be here tonight.
Thanks, Skye. And then last but not least, Enrique, please share with us your information.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Enrique Sanchez, and I'm Park City High School class of 2016. I am a political organizer for the American Business Immigration Coalition. And I, out of high school, went to Salt Lake Community College and got an associate's degree in criminal justice. And then went to the University of Utah and got a political science degree. So with the American Business Immigration Coalition, it's a national coalition made up of over 1,200 CEOs and employers that promote sensible immigration reform that supports the economy of the United States, with our goal of a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented workers, dreamers, farm workers, TPS holders, and essential workers.
Thanks, Enrique. We miss you at the high school also because you were there for a while, helping with the police department stuff. So I'm going to ask each of you really some targeted questions about your world of work and your career. And I'm going to start with Justin and then Enrique. So Justin, you're working on global climate change issues, including grant making. Tell us why you picked that area to focus on and how you got to where you are now.
Good question. So when I was in grad school, as I said, I was studying global health and international development. And I realized that in each and every class I was choosing and all the stuff I was doing after school, the only thing I really cared about was climate change. And so one thing led to another. After school, I ended up applying to a lot of jobs during the global financial crisis. Didn't get many responses back, but ended up working with the Sierra Club right out of grad school. And I think the rest really followed from there. But yeah, I think that for me, growing up in Utah and spending a lot of time outdoors, you could really see a lot of the changes that were happening to the planet in front of your very eyes. Winter's coming later, ending earlier, snow lines moving further up, all of the things. But it was actually time I spent in India with a bunch of local communities that were fighting coal plants that were being proposed that would have stolen their land in order to create a bunch of power that then they wouldn't have benefited from. That really sealed the deal. It made me realize that climate isn't just about what happens to the planet, it's also about what happens to the people on it. So anyway, that's why I do what I do. And I guess the path, I went from grad school to Sierra Club, was in DC for a while. I was a lobbyist on the good side, I promise, not the bad side. And I was there when we were trying to pass climate legislation the first time and we failed epically. And I felt like I just really needed to get my hands dirty, so to speak, and do something a little more tangible than kind of abstracted federal policy. So I landed in India, spent a bunch of time working with distributed solar companies, and then also with local activists trying to stop bad stuff from happening. And then I went from there to the Packard Foundation because one of the things I realized was that my highest and best value to most of my friends in India was actually just providing resources and money, because they knew much better than I did how to fight bad stuff happening in their communities. They just needed resources to be able to do it. So that's how I went into the world of philanthropy, spent a little time there, and then realized that I was a little too far away from the action. And so that's how I landed at Sunrise Project, where we're kind of in between. We give out grants, we enable people to do things, but we also roll up our sleeves and run advocacy campaigns as well. So yeah, that's a bit about how I got here.
That is so interesting. My daughter's name is Sierra because of Sierra Club. Okay, Enrique, you're working on immigration issues. Why did you pick that area to focus on?
Thank you. Yeah, so immigration has been a part of my life since I arrived in the United States when I was 2 years old. My father was coming to and from the United States, Mexico, for close to 5 years before he decided to move us all up. And, lucky enough for me, we ended up in Park City, where I had the opportunity to go from preschool all the way through senior year and really take advantage of the opportunities that the Education Foundation brought me. And in high school was truly where I found out about my immigration status as an undocumented person. And I really, the stars really aligned for me, because at the time was when DACA had just passed. DACA is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, signed in 2012, which allowed undocumented children to apply for a work permit, allowing, giving us a social security number and giving me the opportunity to work in high school and start saving up for college. And so that was a very big moment for me. My sister, who is just a day older than Dalia, is actually didn't have the same opportunity because she was, again, just 5 years older and wasn't able to do that work to save for college. And so in high school, I really wanted to become a police officer. I had several role models inside the Park City Police Department since I was little, and that was my goal. And unfortunately, one of the requirements is U.S. citizenship. And so as I mentioned earlier, when I graduated, I went to Salt Lake Community College with, the goal of doing criminal justice and hoping that things would change after I completed that program and I could go to the police academy. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And so I continued my education, all while working at the police department in a civilian role. And as you mentioned earlier, I was president of the high school a lot because I know that that's what was important. And, Officer Jarman, who's now retired, was one of my great role models at the police department. And I saw that he was truly making a difference with high schoolers at the high school, and the presence of law enforcement really, it brought this sense of safety to a lot of people who would otherwise fear the police and law enforcement. And so last year, there was a Senate bill in the state legislature that I was able to testify, and the chief of police there in Park City was very supportive of, that would allow non-citizens to become police officers in the state. Unfortunately, after several Senate committees, the bill only went as far as allowing green card holders to become police officers. And so DACA recipients are still not allowed to do that in the state. And at the time, I became aware of the organization I work for now, the American Business Immigration Coalition, in which I participated in 2 of their events, one in Salt Lake City and one in DC, in a press conference with the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, other senators, really asking Congress to pass a sensible immigration reform to allow dreamers who are already here to continue contributing to our communities and help the economy, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thanks, Enrique. Well, I know that it was so wonderful to have, especially younger, closer to the age level of our high school students, minorities, people that look different than ever, that you represent so many of our students that need role models. And we were holding out for you. I'm sorry it didn't happen. So anybody on here have any questions to follow up with Justin or Enrique? Well, okay, then I'm going to move on. I'm going to ask Caleb and then Dalia. Caleb, who, by the way, was the best interview ever for an assistant principal. I got to help hire him. As the principal of our junior high, you often deal with students who are at the crossroads between being children and teenagers. I'm sure COVID has made it even more difficult. Tell us what you've seen and how you've dealt with the past 2 years.
That is a great question, and it's been challenging, but when we see children moving to adulthood, we learn the importance of social interaction. We saw that during COVID and the lack of social interaction. So one of the things that is so prominent and so important for these kids as they transition from children, it's important as children as well, but just that need for social interaction. And we also see as they start to age, they no longer want to be told information. They can Google it. They have phones. and they have access to the internet, they want to be challenged in areas of passion. So it's really trying to ignite and find that passion. We also know they need opportunities to start processing their choices because they're becoming mature enough to reflect and grow. And lastly, they just really need positive peer and adult relationships. So what we tried to do at Treasure and what we're trying to do truly district-wide at the high school and ECHR, especially in this realignment process, is it provide an individualized experience, individual relationships, individual course selection, and individual progression through those courses. Because if we're able to ignite kids' passions and challenge them in areas of passion, that's what they're excited about. When kids and children want to do the work, they can work, and they can work at a high level. They like to be challenged. So it's been really complex, given COVID, given the political environment we're in, given social media and the access to information. Students are dealing with more input than they've ever had in their life. So they're tempted and they have desires to do more things than they've ever done in their life. So our job is to really ignite their passion. That's done through an individualized learning experience and a school that's focused on relationships. So that's what we've tried to focus on at Treasure. We learned so much in COVID across the nation on how pivoting for COVID, maybe not the right reason, but pivoting for kids is the right reason. So I'm excited about what's happening in our district. I'm excited that my kids are in this district, and I know it works because I'm looking at Skye and Junior Enrique, some of the kids that I had in my classes, and it's a blast. Skye was one of the best student body officers we've ever had, and Enrique was just a role model of the entire school. So it's working, and I look forward to continuing to be a part of the mission.
Thanks, Caleb. I'm so glad that my child went through your school while you were a principal. Dalia, a couple questions. I'm just going to ask you also. COVID exposed all the weaknesses of our healthcare system, especially for the uninsured. As the director of operations for the People's Health Clinic, tell us what you've seen and how you've dealt with the past 2 years.
So yeah, definitely COVID-19 exposed all the weaknesses in the healthcare system, and here at home in Summit County, we could identify it as well. For example, we identified the need of an equitable healthcare access and the need for folks to have access to healthcare in their language where they felt most comfortable. And the need to also educate folks that there is possibility to access your healthcare through telemedicine. And we were identifying many patients of ours that didn't know how to navigate like the internet, the platform, to being able to access a link to have an appointment with their provider. Because there was a moment in People's Health Clinic that we had to turn all of our appointments remote and telemedicine. And we ended up teaching our patients on how they could create email addresses and how they could navigate through the links and turn on their video cameras and microphones. And so we identified that there was that education that we were involved for our patients as well. We definitely noticed that there was several folks that were unemployed, that there was food and housing insecurity, and a decreased access to health insurance, which in turn for People's Health Clinic increased our exam appointments tremendously. For example, in 2020, we had 6,000 appointments in a year. And in 2021, we increased to 10,000 appointments in just 1 year. And that's a total of 52.4% increase. So definitely identified that the need was huge for us to be in the community to provide healthcare to the uninsured. And the great thing about People's Health Clinic is that we provide those services at no cost, being a nonprofit. I personally was able to witness families questioning the pandemic, having a mistrust to the system, and would aid to us or go to us to specifically see if they could trust the system. And when it came to the point of the COVID-19 vaccines, many of our patients, prior to us being able to have access to the vaccines, would not go to the health department or any other facility to get the vaccine because they had questions and they felt more comfortable asking the questions to us as we were their home healthcare provider. And also being part of the front line and dealing with that in the past 2 years, and kind of still feel that we are, part of the front line dealing with it was definitely hard. We were fearful that we were going to be exposed to the virus itself, and many of my colleagues, including myself, we did end up getting COVID. We're able to deal with it, but not only were we exposed to it, but we were also involved in testing because other testing facilities in the community weren't able to, or tried to. However, sometimes the way to provide the service wasn't easy as it could have been. For example, not having to navigate to a site to order your COVID-19 test and just having it available to you through like a drive-through, or calling a clinic right away and getting your COVID-19 test. Many of you in the community maybe identified that getting a test with Intermountain Healthcare, we needed to go and order our PCR test through the site. And even though they made it available in Spanish, still was a barrier to some of our patients.
So important. So I remember when I had your CCR ever ago, you said, I'm going to help people. That was your goal in high school. That's what I remember. So does anybody have any questions for Caleb, for Dalia, before we move on to asking others? Okay. Well, I am going to move on and I'm going to ask Alex the next question. Alex, you're finishing your residency as an OBGYN. Being a doctor in New York City these past 2 years, you've been through some challenging times, to say the least. And what has been unexpected about your journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, COVID obviously is the first unexpected journey that I encountered. My hospital was one of the hardest hit in the country, first off. We were actually featured on the news when my hospital gave us Yankee ponchos to protect ourselves because we didn't have enough PPE for the hospital. So yeah, that was a wild ride. But I would actually say my kind of the most unexpected component of my journey has actually been how much advocacy plays a role in my job. Since high school, I wanted to be an OBGYN. I did my first shadowing at the University of Utah and wanted to be an OBGYN because I thought it was the coolest job to deliver babies. And I still think it is the coolest job. I literally bring life to the world every day. But what I've encountered along the way is how critical my role is as a patient advocate, as a physician. Here in the Bronx in New York, maternal mortality is way above the national average, and that is specifically Black, Hispanic women. So a huge part of my job is being an advocate for these women and making sure that they're getting equal care to their counterparts in New York City. Another path of advocacy that I've entered is the path of reproductive justice. I am going to be coming back to Utah actually to complete a fellowship in what is called family planning, which is complex contraception and abortion services. And I'm a huge proponent for being an advocate for women to be in control of their own bodies. And so that's been a huge role that I've started to play. So while I still love delivering babies, I have really come to love and value that one of my main jobs as a physician is being an advocate for women who need it most.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, because I'm a woman. Okay, Skye, last one. I'm going to ask you if you're going to pop in. Well, you pop in when you start talking. Skye, as an analyst in the renewable energy field, how did growing up in Park City and going to Park City High School prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. And I think I've been thinking a lot about this lately. The diversity of activities and experiences you have in Park City and at Park City High, I think really prepares you to take on challenges and also branch out and try new things. Just thinking about my experience at Park City High, whether it was sports or student council, or just the diversity of classes that you could take, I think you really had the opportunity to challenge yourself. And it's so cool to hear Coach Fine talking about that, the students' ability to kind of personalize their plans even earlier and really find the passions that drive them, because I think that was really important for me. And working with counselors, like, what are you excited about? And at least for me, when I was in high school, I knew for sure that I wanted to go to med school. And I was like, I'm definitely going to go to med school. This is what I'm going to do. And I ended up going to school and studying human biology, and then getting into human health issues related to the environment and climate change. And so that kind of created a passion pivot, I would say. And I think that just being well-rounded, and that was provided by Park City High, and doing a lot of things gave me the confidence to be able to make that pivot and take on something. I didn't decide I wanted to do civil and environmental engineering until my senior year of college. And so it was kind of late, but I think that all the programs and all the involvement at Park City gave me the confidence to say, okay, I can take this on, learn something new, and give it a go. So I think it's a great place to just get involved in a lot of things and really try out a lot of different potential passions. And so I think when you do find a new pivot, it's easier to pursue that.
Love it. Well, I know that just being at Park City High School for the last 14 years, all of the adventures that our teachers expose our students to, like today, we're going to go out and hike because it's a beautiful day and the environment is important. And growing up at the base of a mountain in Washington State, we never left the classroom and went to climb the mountain. So I love that you're doing that and that this helped you. So, and by the way, anytime in the counseling center that we say unwaveringly positive, like Skye Mooney, that's how you have left your legacy in the counseling department, Skye. So I don't know what's in the chat. I am unable to talk, moderate, keep the dog at my feet, and read that. So I don't know if there's some questions that people would like to ask some of our alumni panelists.
Yeah, if I can, I would love to ask Alex a question. So my question to you, Alex, is with doctors knowing that these mortality rates for Black and Hispanic women are so high, why is it still happening? I recently had a conversation with another doctor who said that when you go through med school, some of the information is still, very much outdated. So it's like, why are we not updating that to where we can protect all women and make it to where it's equal for all of us to be able to get the proper healthcare that we deserve, right?
Yeah, I completely understand your question, and it's a question that we all ask ourselves here. And I think you kind of hit it on the nail. I think a lot of the information is outdated, and a lot of, honestly, frankly, the information is racist. And that's where a lot of the mistreatment of especially colored women comes from in this country. As far as gynecology, many of our gynecologic procedures are named after experimentation on Black women. And that's what a lot of people don't know. Because this experimentation was done on women without any source of pain control, there's this concept in this country that Black women can handle more pain. And so when Black women are undergoing procedures and saying they're in pain, people don't take them as seriously. When Black women are saying that they're dizzy because they're losing a lot of blood, people don't take them as seriously because a lot of, unfortunately, our medical care is based off of racism in this country. And I know that sounds like a really harsh thing to say, but it's something that I battle with every day at work. And so, one of the tools that we're doing here at Montefiore in the Bronx is we do anti-racism training, anti-racism work to really try and get at our inherent biases that impact how we are working with our population. Does that help?
No, definitely. I appreciate your answer. I think where we're headed towards is that we're trying to be more proactive than reactive, right? It's just about getting to that point, just so we can avoid losing so many of our women to misinformation that does come from racism. And please, you know, you did say it's kind of a harsh thing to say. It is, but like it's reality, right? And it's easy to kind of forget about it when you're not necessarily the one being oppressed or like living through it. But like we do need to keep reminding individuals that this is like reality for everybody every day. So I appreciate you doing the work and advocating for us.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'd love to know for younger students growing up in Park City, maybe just entering high school or in high school, what would you encourage them to do? Enrique, I think you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. I can take a jab at this one. For being out of high school for almost 6 years now, the thing I miss most is just like the opportunities that are truly given to us while in high school. I mean, just the ability of having a set schedule every day, of knowing what class you'll be in, but also just like the opportunity of sports. I think that's one of the hardest things after you graduate is wanting to go back and doing all these different types of sports that are offered, but then not doing it. So yeah, so that's one of the things. But for me also, it's just saying yes to a lot of things that you normally would, you know, be afraid to do. I luckily had great opportunities, you know, because of the Education Foundation. For example, one of those was a very nervous time for my mom because I had applied for what's called advanced parole with my DACA permit that allowed me to leave the country through educational purposes. I was in French for 6 years in the Park City School District and had the opportunity to do the 3-month exchange program in Courchevel, France, our sister city. And as I mentioned before, as a non-documented immigrant, I would not literally be able to get back into the country. So the Education Foundation not only helped me financially, but really helped, helped me with the process of applying for that permit that ultimately allowed me to live outside of the country for the first time in over 17, 18 years, and experience a different culture from mine. And I was able to go to school in France and was really taken out of my comfort zone. And I think that that's really important while you're in high school, because it really shows you what life after high school will be like, away from parents, away from home, while you're in college even. And so again, just say yes to things that will make you uncomfortable. Go to prom, go to homecoming, go to all the events that the school provides, and make those friendships that, to this day, I still have friends from preschool. And it's great to see everyone graduating and going into their careers now.
Thanks, Enrique. Dara, can you tell us a little bit about how the high school is a launch pad for so many students? 400 every year graduate.
Yeah, well, first, I think it's just the opportunities that are so diverse for our students. Yes, we have the typical what every high school has, but we have some phenomenally exceptional programs. AP, the Advanced Placement Program, is kind of our big academic accolade for so many years, and definitely for my first decade in our district, because there's, depending on the year, anywhere from 24 to 26, 27 advanced placement classes available, which is really phenomenal for a public school and really phenomenal for a public school of our size in a one high school town. Yes, we have a charter school, but so just that the fact that we've got so many sports available, and then we've had so many sports join and become sanctioned school sports because people find what they're passionate about and are like, we're going to bring this on. Like sailing is going to be a new thing for us in the next year. So all of our music programs, which are extraordinary, and that we have the ability to bring famous people, guests that are at the top of their game, to come and teach and mentor and kind of inspire our students. Sundance brings in some of the film festival. We've had some amazing students that come through our film program, the robotics, concurrent enrollment, which is college credit at the same time as earning high school credit, has really gained momentum also in the last 6 years or so. You're right, Kara, go Miners. Our debate program, which has gone off to nationals, robotics did nationals, all of the hands-on opportunities, the things that we are progressive and think outside of the box. And I know this is a Park City Ed Foundation event, and I don't work for the Ed Foundation, but so many of these amazing programs wouldn't be at the top of the game without some of the grants, the money that's provided through the counseling department. I know part of it is we get to help direct students along their pathways. So if they say, I think I'm interested in renewable energy, we can say, hey, do you know about this class? Do you know about this PCCAPS program? They work hands-on with our community members. We also then have written a grant, and it's been sponsored for us to be able to help our underrepresented students, whether it's first generation students, students that have learning disabilities, students that maybe just socioeconomically never thought that they could access college. We have different mindful activities that have come, things that we get to take care of their mental health, their social health, their academic health at our school, and expose them to more.
Thanks, Dara. I just have one last question, and that is about these are huge intractable challenges that you guys all work in that space. What keeps you going? Like what makes you rise and shine every day to bring all of your energy to these issues? And it's a question for everyone.
I'll jump in. The kids, these are the most valuable kids in the world to human beings. I have the privilege of having Abby's son in my school, and every day I get to see that young man and say, that is Abby's most precious being. And so I have 800 of those kids. And what is more inspiring than that? So it's the kids. They bring you every day. You're dealing with the most valuable people in the world. And it's a reason to come to work with a smile and think of everything that's right. And there's a lot right. And that's what we focus on.
Appreciate you, Caleb, for being an amazing principal like Dara. Grateful that my child is rolling through treasure while you are steering the ship.
My patients help me wake up every day. It is such a pleasure to work with them, to deliver their babies, to watch their husbands cry. It's like the one and only time you see grown men crying. It's so cute. when I can help them with their pain, when I can talk to them about their home lives, anything that makes their lives easier and more comfortable really gets me going every single day. I'm so lucky to work with my patient population here and excited to come back to Utah.
I like to share something. So this is Dalia, and I'd like to mention that at People's Health Clinic, we observe students from Park City High through the PCCAPS program and Bright Futures. And that gives me so much hope knowing that through our doors, we've had students do internships and they gain an experience and understanding if that's what they want to go into. And many of them are going into it. I've seen some graduates from Park City High going to their college. For example, I know a student, Perla Garcia. She was phenomenal when she was doing her internship at People's Health Clinic and is going to be returning to us and continues to do so every summer because she loves it so much and has goals and ambitions to become a nurse one day and possibly even a nurse practitioner. And so for me, my passion is providing the healthcare to our uninsured community of Park City, Summit County, which is 80% made up of our Latino and Hispanic population. It's just always so amazing to be able to educate folks about their healthcare, what they can do to do preventative healthcare, and also what to do if they are diagnosed with something. There is options to be able to get better or manage their condition.
Thanks, Dalia.
For me, it's kind of a combination of things. It's knowing that climate change is imminent, and every day we need to be working towards solutions, and renewable energy, a clean energy source, is a major part of that. And so I think one of the biggest, I guess, affirming moments was seeing there's a solar project that's on I-15 as you're going south that is in Utah that I helped design, and seeing that become operational is pretty cool. But I think from the day to day, it's definitely just being inspired by the people I work with, kind of similar to what a lot of people are saying. It's incredible just to be motivated by people. And I actually work with 4 other Park City High School graduates. And I used to sit next to one, and I work pretty closely with others. And so that drive to wake up and make a change and get creative, and if we have to stay after hours working on a problem, it's not because we have to, it's because we're passionate about it and we're there to help each other and support each other. And so it's the climate crisis as well as an incredible group of people to work with to solve problems.
Thanks, Skye. How about you, Justin?
Look, we're on track to make this planet uninhabitable. And we have very little time to change course. I mean, like, that sounds extreme, but it's not. And it's hard to think that you would be able to look at your kids 10, 20 years down the road when we've completely destroyed the planet and they have no future. And they ask, what did you do if you knew this was going to happen? What did you do during your time? So, it's my kids, everybody else's kids. It's also just the notion that we would destroy a planet knowingly is kind of insane. So kind of can't sit back and watch that happen. Gotta at least try.
Thank you. How about you, Enrique?
So for me, it's definitely the community that I'm a part of. It's thinking about all those kids who are currently in grade school who have dreams like I did, and ultimately won't be able to do what they want to do because of their immigration status. As some of you may know, DACA is a program that has essentially on pause, so no new applicants can apply. So there's a lot of students who are graduating high school right now with no status at all, no social security number. And so, that was one of the important lessons that I've learned in my life, is to value what you have and recognize that others have it worse than you. So I'm truly grateful for my DACA, and I understand that there's high schoolers at Park City High School even right now who are unavailable to work legally because of their status. And so, as a lot of you have mentioned, these kids will go to college, but a lot of them at the end of the day won't even be able to do the career that they so have desired or studied for because of their immigration status. And we see a labor shortage in our country, and we need immigrants to continue thriving in this country. And so that's my motivation, is understanding that there's other people who have it worse. And I hope that my work that I'm doing today will benefit a preschooler who's in preschool right now and won't have to worry about his immigration status when it comes to graduation and choosing a career.
Thank you, Enrique. Really impressive. I'm so inspired by all of you. This is, as Justin said, we all have to try. You guys are making such a big difference in your local communities, in our collective community. We all share in together, and just so grateful for what you do and for your time this evening, and sharing your journeys and sharing your work with the Park City Education Foundation. Thank you so much. If there aren't any additional questions, I will just again thank our panelists and Dara. Thank you for moderating, and it was just a pleasure having you all here and learning from you tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. You're all advocates. So inspired.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.